So I approached this story with lots of emotional connects and things that I can certainly relate to, because this is a story about broken relationships. It's a story about a family that made some decisions and as a result caused a disconnect among them because things went terribly wrong. Now, I don't have to tell you that it's really a story of life. Many of us in the room today have experienced the broken relationships, either father-son fellowship or father-daughter, or maybe it's a mother-son or a mother-daughter, maybe it's a husband-wife. And if the truth be told, we may even have experienced a servant-God broken relationship. It happens. And I'm so glad that when it happens, we're not left alone and we're not given the boot and say it's all over, because there are things that can happen. There are things that can happen. There are things that we can do, Riley, that will give us opportunity to reconnect. This story gives us what I believe steps back to God. This story gives us what I believe are steps back to God. It's about getting right what was wrong. And so we're going to just walk through it, and we're going to lift some stuff up, and at the end of the day, if you got it, that's a wonderful thing. I want you to just kind of meditate on it, because the good news is it doesn't matter how far we have fallen. It doesn't matter how bad we've messed up. It doesn't matter how long we've been gone. God is waiting right now and is always waiting with open arms, saying, my child, you can come home. But there's something we've got to do. And so here we go. Step number one, reflection. Now, I know for some of us this is frightening, because one of the things that's required in reflection is that you got to spend some time alone with God. You got to turn the radio off. You got to put the iPad down, or that smartphone that's really smarter than you. I hate it when my phone's smarter than me. But you got to spend some time alone with God. All of us must find time to be alone with God. And here's the thing, people. It's got to be something that you volunteer to do. It can't be forced time. It's got to be time where you recognize that if this relationship is going to be valuable, if this relationship is going to remain strong, if this relationship is really going to give me what I need, I've got to be intentional about spending time with God. Time alone, where it's just me and God. Said to the earlier crowd today, you know, it's like I think about the term empty nesters. And there are people who have gone to the place where they are empty nesters. Thank God I'm one. And there are folk who, when they become empty nesters, Don and Becca, they just get so excited because even though they didn't get a raise on their job, they got more money now because they don't have those folk at home spending it. There are folk that are excited because even though the house didn't get any bigger, they've got more space now because folk aren't running around all over the place. There are empty nesters that are so excited about being free. And yet, there are also some who find themselves in trouble. Why? Because they spent the last 20 or 21 or 22 years in the marriage, not really focusing on the marriage, but focusing on the children and focusing on the things and stuff and stuff and stuff. And now that last one is off to college or off doing their own thing, and they've come back and they've gotten their stuff, you look up and it's like, oh, you still here? And that's your spouse you're speaking to. Oh, how are you? Because they've not spent time through the course of those 20 or 21 years, getting to know each other, growing like they will, doing the things that are going to help them. What am I saying? If you are not careful, you can spend a lot of time keeping up with life and doing the things that life will require of you and never take the time to get to be personal with God. You got to have it. I tell folk all the time, I got a lot of rooms in my house. Yes, I need a bedroom because I want to be able to go and rest. I need a washroom because after I work up a sweat, I want to go get fresh again. I certainly need a kitchen because I like to eat. You know, over the course of the last little while, Kelly, I have also determined that every house that I have, in addition to all of those other rooms, I need a prayer room. I need a space so I can go in, Don, and when I close the door, they will say, oh, don't mess with Daddy right now. He's alone with God. I need a space so that when I get there, people will know, Tara, that this is my time alone. I'm not interested in hearing stories. I'm not interested in visits. It's just me and God. Miss Eva, I got a room in my house where I can go to be alone with God. Now, here's the rest of the story. It's not going to do you any good to be alone with God if you're going to be faking it. Because when you get to be alone with him, you got to be open. You got to be honest. No secrets, no lies, no masquerades. You got to be able to get naked before God. Because guess what? He sees all your flaws anyway. And he loves you in spite of it. I'm going to encourage somebody today, if it's been a while, either through a devotional or through some other means, spend some time alone with God and begin to reflect on your life. Begin to reflect on your relationship. Begin to seek God for the things that you know that you need to seek him for. Not only do you need reflection, but out of reflection must come conviction. Now, conviction can be hard because it's got to come from within, and you've got to be able to say, you know where you messed up. Listen to what the scripture says. It says the prodigal son came to himself. If your reflection is to mean anything, you've got to be able to call it like it really is. You've got to be able to call it exactly like it is. You got to be able to tell it like it really is. Miss Renee, you got to be able to say, I messed up. I got off. If you are going to get back on track, the only way to get back on track is to determine where you got off track and go back there. Got a cute little story I like to tell about when I was raising my kids, boy and girl, in my early days. I came home one day and I saw that my couch, which was material sort of upholstered with a really nice blue cover, one of the pillows, it comes in sections, and one of the pillows had been flipped, and it didn't quite sit right. And so I thought, something up. So I went and I picked the pillow up and I turned it over, and my God, probably a foot in circle diameter, there was this spot, butter. It was still wet, so I was good. I did what my granny and my mama taught me. I went, Martha got me a little warm, soapy water. Y'all youngsters remember that word? Warm, soapy water will clear a lot of things up if you get it in time. I took my sponge, Miss Pam, and I kind of rubbed over the butter, and I got it all out, and I got it all done, and got it all good. And then after that, I put it back down, and then I called the kids in. I said, hey, kids, come see. And they come running in, they, like, oh, what's up, Daddy? I said, well, let me first say, nobody's in trouble. But you're not in trouble only if you fess up. You got to admit, who did this? I turned the pillow over, and I see the boy in his usual way. But the girl's eyes get big. And she gets nervous, and then she says to me, Daddy, you say we're not in trouble if we tell the truth? I said, no, baby, everybody's going to be fine as long as you tell the truth. She said, it was me. She says, I was watching a movie, and I popped some popcorn, and so I took the bag of the popcorn, and I just sat it down on the seat of the couch, and when I looked up, the butter has seeped through it. From this day forward, I pour all my popcorn in a bowl. Because I like a lot of butter, and it still goes through. She says, but I didn't realize it, and I was scared, and I wasn't sure what you were going to do, and so I tried to hide it. I'm sorry. And I said to her, baby girl, listen, here's the lesson for life, and I need y'all to get this. All of us will drop the ball at some point. All of us will mess up at some point. That's not the measure of maturity, and that's not the response that we're going to look to. The response and the measure of maturity is, how soon do you pick it up again? How do you handle when you drop the ball? I said to her, do you realize that had I not come in the way that I did and paid attention to the things that I paid attention to, this butter would have stained the couch, and it would have been a permanent stain. But because I got to it in time, I was able to fix it. Here's the lesson in life. Most of the stuff y'all do can be fixed if you don't hide it. If you say, I messed up. Most of the things in life can be fixed. But we've got to come to the place of being able to say, I dropped the ball. I messed up. I was confused. I didn't get it. And now I know that I've done the wrong thing. Steps back to God require reflection. They require conviction. After conviction comes decision. He says to himself, now, I messed up bad. But my daddy got more money than the Catholics. And I can go home. And I can have a good life, even as a servant. He made a decision to arise and go to his father. My friends, if we review the evidence, come up with a diagnosis of the problem, and quit, we've done ourselves no good. When you realize you've messed up, when you've come up with a solution, and you understand the diagnosis, you've got to be willing to commit to doing something. Don't let your fears keep you stuck. My baby girl was afraid of what was going to happen, so she tried to hide the butter stain. Don't let other folks' fears keep you stuck. Don't worry about the shame. Don't worry about the fact. Listen, you've got to be able to admit and understand that it really doesn't matter what other folk think. It doesn't matter how other folk feel. I told the 8:30 service, and I'll say it again to you this morning. As a young pastor, one of the first things that I became very comfortable with were two phrases. And both of them still work well for me today. One of the phrases I learned to live with real good is, you ready? I don't know. I mean, who decided that preachers, once they got called, Chris, were supposed to be the smartest people in the world and have all the answers? No. One of the best things you can do is to admit to yourself that you don't have all the answers and that it's okay. Just admit, I don't know. Then the other phrase, which is just as powerful, that I've had the privilege to use even in the few months that I've been here, and that I'll probably use some more as time goes on. And it's one that if you're smart and you're healthy, you use often as well. And it's simply, I'm sorry. I didn't get that right. I'm sorry. I didn't quite do that the right way. But you got to have a decision. You got to make up your mind that you're not going to stay where you are. You don't have to stay stuck. You're going to do something that's going to change your situation. So, my friends, we got to be willing to committing to something. And then after you get it settled in your head, then the next thing you got to do is get it settled in your heart. And after you get it settled in your heart, then the decision will lead you to action. Go and do what you said. The boy got up. He quit that job feeding hogs. I'm so glad to know that my faith is activated when I act on what God has given me to do. Otherwise, faith is dead with no action. It's activated when we do it, and we do it the way God has told us to do it. So you got to take some action. Now, the good thing about it is when you begin to take that action, God will be in the midst of it. I want y'all to tell my wife, but one of the things she knows about me is when I start talking about stuff, something about to happen. In the course of our 15-year marriage, Drew, every time she catches me looking at cars, she knows a new car is about to show up. Usually it's hers. But every now and then I get lucky. Here's the thing. Y'all can't, don't tell her. I've been looking at sound bars because I need some volume on my TV. Now, Bose, I saw just last night, they got an $800 bar. They got a $500 bar. I got to go check them out, Gail. I got to go check them out. But I've been looking at sound bars, and so don't be surprised if my wife shows up here a little while, Jen, and starts talking about that crazy husband of mine that spent some of my money because he went and got those sound bars. But you know how big boys are when we watch TV. Come on. I'm watching. I'm thinking. And I'm about to do something. You got to do it, people. Here's the deal. You got to take the action. You got to take the action. The action is what's going to make it happen for you. Move to a higher ground by deciding that you're going to do something differently. Most of the time, when God is working for us, God starts by working in us. Did you hear this? When he is working for us, he starts by working in us. Why? Because when the miracle happens, he wants to be able to be assured that he can trust you to know that he is the source. Oh, he doesn't want you to take the credit for it when you know he's done it. So he's going to fix you first. Oh, but I grew up in a time when the old timers used to say it, and I still believe it. If you take one step, God will take two. And what he's done for others, he'll do for you. I'm talking about steps back to God, and I've got reflection, and I've got conviction, and I've got decision, and I've got action. And then, my friends, the final step is the step of confession. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, but the Bible declares that if we confess, God, who is faithful, will forgive us and will cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Do you hear this story? Listen to this story, and it brings tears to my eyes every time I think about it. This young boy got up and decided he was going to make his way back here, and he was going to go and tell his daddy how sorry he was. But the Bible says while he was still a long way off, before he could get to the daddy saw him and began to run to him. My friends, can I just tell you that the daddy never stopped looking for him? Oh, my God. You got to know that every morning as he'd wake up to have his morning coffee and to start his chores, he'd peep out the window of the front door and say, is my child coming home yet? He's not here, but I'm going to wait on him. Every evening just before the things closed down and everything got quiet, he'd reach back out and he'd peep over and say, oh my God, is he home yet? He's not here, but I'm still waiting on him. So I'm not surprised that while he was still a long way off, the father saw him. Why? Because he never stopped looking for him. What's the moral of this story? No matter where you are right now, no matter how far you've fallen, no matter how disconnected you may feel, God is still looking for you and beckoning you and saying, come home, my child. You are welcome. Come home. Oh, my God. And so, my friends, in the midst of your broken relationship with God, you can be restored. In the midst of your pain, of bad decision making, you can be restored. Because the God who loved us so much that he sent his son to die on a cross is still standing now, saying, come. Hallelujah. Come. So, my friends, if you're here today and you know that relationship with God, or there is a relationship that's been broken and you want it restored, this is your opportunity to get it right. Don't just think about it. Don't just decide on it. Don't just get clarity about what you ought to do, but do something. As you stand together, as you're able, I'm going to open the doors of the church. If you're here today and you want to join church, come now. If you want to give your life to Christ, come now. Jesus.